is a horticulture instructor at Spartanburg Community College, and we're sitting in the interior courtyard at the downtown campus. What do you do when you get a little spot in the middle of a building?
You survey the situation, and what we were handed was an area that was pretty poorly drained, but had a very interesting microclimate attached to it. So we were able to put some subsurface drains in, plant some things a little higher, and also put some things that can handle some wet conditions intermittently in here. But it's been this is probably my favorite place of the downtown campus.
Well, I think that we see that we can have cultivars that are so different. So the Japanese maples are kind of the foundation for this. So let's talk about some of the ones that are here.
We were able to bring 5 different species of Japanese maples, or 5 different cultivars of Japanese maple, into this small space. And some of the things that we sort of bent the rules a little bit. Oftentimes when you think of a finely dissected leaf, it's oftentimes attached to a form that weeps. And here we have an upright form called Siryu that has a very fine dissected leaf that'll give a nice cover in this courtyard eventually. And then on the flip side, we brought a cultivar in called Ryusin, which has a broad palmate leaf that is not finely dissected, that is a weeping form. So it sort of flip-flops the characteristics of those two that normally go with the other form.
I think one of the special things is that you've got really a canvas with the color of the brick, and so you chose some Japanese maples that have some different colors involved in them.
Yeah, a lot of what we did in here, when we teach landscape design, we say form, texture, color. And I always say to my students, green is a color, so we've manipulated that green with different shades and different textures of green in here, which I think really works well against the muted color of the brick.
It does, and I think one of the things too that I like is the incredibly bright color of some of the hostas. How do they perform in this space?
They've done really well in this space. It is, like I said earlier, a little microclimate that seems to stay warmer in the winter, so some of our hostas remained up and really looking good until December this past year, and we had a relatively cold winter, so that's really remarkable in my eyes.
And when we talk about texture, these little upright ground cover and little grass-like plants add a lot of zing. And which ones do you particularly enjoy?
I think at the school we're very partial to rhodia just because it is such a tough plant. And such a broad texture for such a small plant. But then we've got the black mondo, which has done really well in this courtyard, the dwarf mondo, and some of your sedges that really work well in areas that may stay wet over periods of time.
Talking about things that are wet, we do have to water, and y'all make a real commitment towards sustainability. What have you done on this campus to try to reduce or minimize water use? Well,
it's really a water-wise plan as far as irrigation. The majority of this campus is drip irrigation, so we save water that way. We've minimized turf areas so that we don't have a lot of turf, but we've got a smart controller which has the ability to input a lot of data about the environment, the climate, the type of plant, and it also has a weather station that measures the transpiration, the humidity, the temperature, and helps factor that into when the plants need water and how much water they need based on the data we input into the controller. So with thought and planning and selection, you have a campus that's probably going to be one of the greenest spots in town and yet have some minimal input. Oh yeah, I think it's really going to be a nice sustainable landscape. We've given the trees plenty of room to grow. We've planted a lot of trees. So I think it's a great place in downtown Spartanburg. I've enjoyed learning about the future of horticulture and planning in an urban environment with you today. Thank you. Thank you.